What is going on, everyone? AP over here, Ron Pair Sports, bringing to you once again. We got the lineup builder show. I'm here with my guy Rubio. We had a lot of success with this last year. We had between us, like 5 or 6 shippers. I mean, we got to do that again this year. I know a lot of people watching had some success too. If you're new to the show, welcome. We love it if you all hit the like button, subscribe, helps us out a lot over here at Run Pair Sports. A quick overview before I hand it off to Rubio. We're gonna give you a little bit behind the scenes look at our content. We're gonna run through our base build. We'll talk about that. That's using SaberSim. We're gonna build out a game script, and then we're going to review everything and give our final thoughts. So real simple format to the show. Rubio, it's been a minute. What's going on, my man? How are you doing on this fine Thursday morning?
I'm excited. After maxing the DraftKings best ball milli, or the 15 milli prize pool or whatever, I am tired. I'm exhausted of looking at just season long outlooks and stuff. So I'm very happy to be with week 1, Chiefs Ravens. Last year, the Chiefs slate brought us a ton of success. I think that was actually my biggest hit of the NFL season last year was the Lions Chiefs to start out. I would honestly love a repeat. It's always nice playing with house money to start the season. That's all I ask, I just get me well out ahead. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. I see a lot of player props already for week 1 that I've been looking at too. Starting to get a little bit more into the betting, just props, trying to get a consistent ROI there. It's been great for MLB especially. So trying to keep that tidal wave flowing, AP. So a lot of DFS, a lot of prop betting too over here. So should be a fun time.
All right, Vince. So this is a great comment right here. Forgot how to use Saber. I mean, look, like it's been a minute. It's been a while. We got the best. We got Rubio Dimes. Awesome. Absolutely awesome using SaberSim. So we're in good hands today. And then you got me too. I'm more of a donkey, but I found my way through it. Let's take a look at the site. So the site's looking really clean. Wiley and company and the team, they got this thing dialed in. We've made some slight adjustments, going for a cleaner look. All the details are going to be there. Nice and neat. NFL Showdown separated. We have the NFL tab over here. Let me just, Rubio, we're going to go through this real quick. So our Showdown core plays, like we always have, the whole team is going to be posting our Showdown plays each and every main Showdown slate. The playbook. I love what you guys have done with the Showdown playbook. Talk a little bit about the Showdown playbook, and I'm going to scroll accordingly.
Yeah, so here's what I'm going to do real quick for you, all right? I want you to refresh here in about give me about 15 seconds. I just want people to see what we can expect from the playbook. This is something that you're probably going to see on the classic playbook as well, but basically what it is, we're now putting in rankings and stuff too. So if you're like wondering, who's your favorite play in the captains, right? You'll have a ranking constantly updated there. Honestly, I really like this format because I just think it gives you a clear look on who's on who, especially when you have a guy like JDC who maxes these tournaments and stuff. So you can see there, I put my captain ranks in there too, and I'll do that for every player in the slate. And we'll get to guys like Isaiah Likely later, who I love, and I absolutely think his prop is too low on the sports books and stuff. Where he'd be my favorite value, and then P Ryan wouldn't be too far behind. So. And then I also added on a couple things too. So with the NFL Pro, I think it's NFL Pro Plus or something, they have a ton of statistics to work with. That is actually something that I really want to implement this season is being a nerd, right? There's nothing wrong with being a nerd. I want to see what teams get attacked by when they're facing a certain matchup. So the Chiefs and Ravens were incredible last year. I know the Chiefs had Snead and stuff, but and he's no longer there. But they were incredible against wide receivers who lined up out wide. And they were weaker against the slot. So both these teams were weaker against the slot. You could hit them with outside runs, not really on the inside, but that's kind of marginal at best. I mean, that's barely outside the hashes. I don't really want to do too much with that. But really, like one thing you notice, when you got teams like the Jets, the Browns, the Ravens, the Chiefs, all at the top against wide receivers out wide, it creates a different outlook. Like, do I really want to spend, $8K for Flowers and stuff when he's not going to line up in the slot a ton? And then just kind of going over stuff like that. Backfield splits, as we know, with Pacheco and P. Ryan. You'll have it with Justice Hill and Derrick Henry tonight, too. So, yeah, should be a good time. I mean, these changes are fairly nice. I know you can kind of get a good sense of, who someone likes and who doesn't like, especially from guys like Wiley, JVC, Tony, JSU, you. I mean, just a whole bunch of people too, where you can just kind of get a quick consensus look on all these guys.
One thing I don't want to hear is this sheet's only for MME players or 150 max players. That is so false. So how I play NFL main slates is a lot different than Showdown slates. I do prefer multi-entry for Showdown, but still, if I'm only playing a single entry, 3 to 5, 6 to 9, this is the perfect format for that. We have grades on each one, so okay. In the captains, Rubio, Lamar Jackson, number 1, Mahomes, 2. So you can use that if you are an hashtag lineup hand builder. You can use the grades. So we're not using the slam, slam core, whatever. You have our actual rankings, and then I love the breakdown. It should be a little bit more mobile friendly when you pull it up on mobile. I believe, at least when I did it, I see the Ravens. I can read that. Then I can go over to the Chiefs. I can read that. So we're trying to make things a lot more friendly for the mobile users, and then also just nice, neat, and concise. So I absolutely love what you guys have done with the Showdown playbook. Big T's player pool, baby. Big T, as always, the Showdown GOAT. He will have his Showdown plays up. 3 max. I love this sheet too. So K Fowler. K Fowler. How much money did K Fowler win last year playing Showdown and main slates? And he's a 3 max type of player. He builds 3 lineups. He's very transparent about what he does. And he is probably one of the best, if not the best, at getting off the chalk and finding those plays that no one else is on. And yes, sometimes we give him crap, but he's the one laughing at all of us at the end of the day because he's the one with multiple bags and all the money. So absolutely love him. JSU, Mangone as well on this 3 max sheet. They'll have their 3 cores for how they're running, their 3 builds, and then a short write-up. Past optimals, I've expanded this out just a little bit. So I wanted, with this sheet, you're going to get the full previous year and then every game as we progress throughout the season. So week by week, this sheet is going to expand. It's going to be adapted. I wanted to add some context to this. Now, again, the finance bro in me wants to say, what's the phrase? Past results are not indicative of future performance. Hashtag, disclosure, not financial advice. But I wanted to add some context to this. And so I put in here the opponent, who they played, and what the score of the game was. I think that is going to be highly relevant when just trying to get an overall idea of how roster construction could look. The other, a few questions I've had around the sheet is, how could I use this? Well, I use this just to remind myself that, hey, there's a lot of variance in NFL Showdown slates. I'm going to go look at the past optimal sheet just to remind myself, hey, wild stuff happens. If I have a build that's wild and unique and crazy, I might run with it. I might be fine with it. And just looking at the Chiefs last year, it is kind of telling. Look at how, typically when we think of the Chiefs, if you go back 2-3 seasons, it's Patrick Mahomes captain. It's just top down. Not last year, not the case. A lot of opponent defense, opponent quarterback, opponent, skill position players from both sides. So I think the sheet is really, really nice. It's expanded a little bit as well. And obviously the Ravens. And so every main Showdown slate that we have, you're going to have the past optimals up. So for example, after tonight, we'll switch it over to the Friday night game. And then obviously the Sunday night and then Monday night game as well. So that is a quick rundown of our Showdown content. I do want to, so our main slate stuff, pretty similar to last year. You can see here our core plays expanded, Big T's player pool. We got the flow chart. Again, the thing about some of this content is we don't have data yet to go off of. The flow chart, we need a few weeks of data to identify those flow chart plays. I do want to hit on one thing, and then we will dive into the slate. I promise you. But a quick revision of the playbook. So one issue that we've had is just how do we make this more friendly for mobile users? And then also we have, a mixed group where some people like a cheat sheet, quick hit, fast notes, real simple to identify the winners, which I love. And then we have another group that likes more detail, longer write-ups, more in-depth strategy. We're going to get the best of both worlds here. The actual playbook on the site is going to be that kind of cheat sheet format. I'm going to have a link. It's going to be right here. All you got to do is click it. If you're on your phone, mobile, it'll be very, very easy to click. It's going to take you to the playbook article, which is going to be a more in-depth, detailed breakdown. So 2 places where the NFL playbook is going to be housed. I think it's going to solve a lot of issues, and it's going to be an incredible product for our members this season. 3 max projections, stack probability, power rating, positional matchups, all of the good stuff that we are used to having. Rubio, any other comments on just kind of our content behind the scenes before we dive into the slate?
Nah, I think we're all set. I'm excited for a new year. Obviously, I need a little bit of a haircut too. As I keep looking down, I'm like, damn, this is a terrible head of lettuce right now. So, but I am excited, as always, for the start of the football season. We also get the game tomorrow too. So we're also going to have a bunch of shows tomorrow for the game in Brazil with the Eagles and the Packers. So, yeah, if we have enough fun today, we just get to run it back tomorrow.
All right, very good. All right, let's get into the showdown slate. Give me 1 second all right, there we go. Perfect. All right, so we have SaberSim up. The format that we had last year, I think was awesome. So we always started with doing a base build. Do you want to tell the people what a base build is? And I will pull that up right now, and we'll walk through this base build that we have here today.
Yeah, so basically, you want to see where the projections are hitting right now. So we just ran 150 lineups just with nothing added, nothing really changed at all. We want to see, what's hitting as like the top projected teams, right? So you're going to see a common trend today because pricing is incredibly soft. You're going to be able to get Patrick Mahomes. You're going to be able to get guys like Lamar Jackson and the captain, right? You're also going to have soft pricing to where, look at that lineup on the right side. That is 6 great plays. It doesn't have Kelsey, but it's 6 great plays right there, right? This is where we can kind of see where maybe a mid-range captain could be a little bit more popular, right? Where you can get up to Pacheco. You don't really have to play the game of, which chief wide receiver should I play if it's Worthy or Rice. Maybe you can jam both in that sense. But, yeah, I think what you're going to see here too is just, a ton of, guys at the top at captain. Like, we don't have anyone really value-wise until we get to Pirine. That's a very marginal, percent. You also have Xavier Worthy there. So really what that's telling me, we want to spend up at captain. So AP, if you can you sort by projected score instead of single game score real quick up there on the top right? And then just scroll to the top here. So I'm actually shocked by that. I was not expecting that to be the result of a Noah Gray captain team being at the top there. It's a Chiefs onslaught. One thing that we don't really love here is a ton of 5-1s, especially in a spread this close. But that does shock me that the top projected team is a Noah Gray captain. Obviously, it would take a lot to get there. I don't think this is the slate for it. But really what it's telling you is, get these studs. Don't really fiddle with the value too much. I think there's enough value to kind of gamble with. But, yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that. What do you think about those initial builds?
Yeah, so the nice thing about doing this is I always like coming into the show fresh and, I do my baseline research, but as far as like builds, roster construction, I like to get my first reaction on the show. And yeah, I actually kind of like this, especially in multi-entry formats, because I think there's going to be a lot of obvious builds, a lot of duped builds. And so if you are trying to get unique, it might be easier, but again, to do that, you're going to have to find ways to get different and kind of embrace being uncomfortable with your build. So, and the other thing too is if you think back to the AFC Championship, I think this game is going to play like a lot different. It was such a different, like the first game of the year can go so many different ways, and the teams are different. Like the Chiefs, obviously, we're going to get into our script and how we want to build it, and we haven't. It'll be interesting because we haven't really talked about how we feel about this slate, but I do think that this game is going to play different than what we saw in the AFC Championship. So I think it's going to be one where defenses, kickers, how do we introduce those into our lineups? How do we get away from the chalk? I think there's going to be a lot of interesting discussion points. So when pricing is soft, yeah, it can be a little bit annoying because there's so many obvious builds out there. But at the same time, I kind of like it because if you are trying to, get a lineup that's not duped, a lot of times it might be a little easier if you're okay with being uncomfortable. Does that answer your question well enough, Rubio?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it is funny, we get a question here too. If you guys notice, scan that code on the bottom right there, sign up with DraftKings. That's the one that we're always going to be focusing on. It's never going to be talking about FanDuel and stuff. We run the Sims and everything for that for DraftKings only.
All right, so it has been a minute, and I think how we did this before was you ran the Saber part, if my memory serves me right. But let's get to our script. So we're building out a game script. What did we do? We went position by position, right? We adjusted the projections. So let's do that. Let me bring up our quarterbacks. Let's start with the quarterback spot.
And go ahead and filter that out there with that filter button at the top. Let's go ahead and add a filter with guys projected 1 or above. My projection greater than 1. So that's just
this is why I have Rubio run the Saber stuff. Let's hide the players that aren't projected. There we go. He's much better. He's more efficient at it. And he would have it looking all nice and clean versus me where it looks unorganized.
You had everything kept up well beforehand. I must admit, that was very nice to see.
Yeah, except for my tabs up here that I like. That's like the only thing I know how to do. All right. Give us a high-level overview of how you think how you see this game going tonight between the Chiefs, Ravens, specifically hit on the quarterbacks. Obviously, we're gonna get to the skill position players, but these are two teams where when you think of showdown slates, when you think of quality quarterback play, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, two of the best out there. Lamar Jackson, he can get it done on the ground, through the air. He's highly, when you look at that pass optimal sheet, Lamar Jackson is going to be in that captain spot quite often. So what's your game script? How do you see these quarterbacks faring tonight?
Yeah, I really think that this is going to be a little bit of a quarterback duel, right? Obviously, it's not the playoffs, but even when you're looking back in their most recent game for the Ravens, right? This is why I love the pass optimal sheet too. So that was a game where, look, the Chiefs defense last year, both these defenses last year were incredible. But I like to look at, the most recent game that these two played. It was a very high-level matchup. What we saw from them was, the Ravens, right? And it was just Lamar, and he was optimal over Patrick Mahomes, which is kind of a surprise because it was 17-10. I do think I want both quarterbacks. I want both quarterbacks tonight too because, look, hit the flex button for me up there too. So,
yeah, I was just about to do that. I'm like, that's an aggressive projection that we have on them. 30?
So look, Lamar's 11-4, Mahomes is 10-4. Last year, it's the opposite of inflation, right? Last year, these guys were, 12 and 13K. We were getting a bargain on these quarterbacks. This is one of those things where this is why pricing is so soft because, look, Lamar and Patrick Mahomes combined for 25K last year if you wanted to play them both. This year, you're not including the captain, obviously. It's under 22K. That's a steal. These are two guys who are just studs. You look at Patrick Mahomes. I think the Ravens defense is going to get a little bit worse this year. I still think it's going to be just fine, but he can still do it on both ways too. Like his running prop is 22.5 AV. Like it's no joke. Lamar's might be 50.5, but Mahomes is going to have a good chance to get it done on the ground too, as he always does. Last year he was optimal in the captain, right? And to open the slate, in the season opener he was optimal in the captain. Like he's going to get it done. And Lamar, the same way. Like, this is also, expecting the Chiefs to kind of take a small step back on defense after losing a little bit of talent, especially a guy like Snead, where I just think that it's so easy to play both of them. You don't really have to give them a high projection either, right? Like what we have them right now, we had them at 19 and 20. That's perfect. Like that, you're going to get a ton of them either way because look, the pricing is setting up that way. After we get past Mark Andrews and stuff, then projections start to crumble a little bit on that value range. I guess Xavier Worthy is like I said, the last great play I think at 5,800, and then you can kind of make your case for the values. But I'm not going to get too cute today. I'm playing both quarterbacks, especially in my main team. That's just one of the easiest things I can do today. I don't want to screw it up.
I love exactly where your mind's at. I mean, Kansas City specifically, losing L'Jarius Sneed and Willie Gay could be, obviously could be a slight hit. Both teams have beefed up their offenses, respectfully. It's going to be interesting with Derrick Henry. The Ravens love to run the ball. And I just when I go back to talking about how I think this game plays out different, we saw such a defensive battle in the AFC Championship. It makes me think that we see a lot more offense tonight, opposite of what we saw from the Chiefs-Lions last year. If I'm the Chiefs coming into this game, the past few seasons, I feel like they've gotten off to a really slow start. They can't do that here. And then the other thing too is this is such a hard game for Kansas City because the Ravens come in with all the motivation. The Chiefs went into their house, they beat them, didn't kick their ass, but they got it done. And I mean, you got to think that the Ravens are going to come in as the hungrier team. And from the Kansas City side, you could see a little bit more complacency, but I do think that we see more offense. And so I agree with you. I want to bump up the quarterbacks. Love Lamar here. I feel safer with him. We have obviously more rushing upside. Mahomes, look, you see his rushing upside in the playoffs, not early on in the season. Early on in the season, it's all about protecting him, staying healthy. When he needs to get it done on the ground, he does it. But only in games where it's needed, and that's later on in the season, down the stretch. So I don't give Mahomes a lot of rushing upside in this matchup, whereas Lamar, we're going to get a much safer floor. What do you think projection-wise? Should we get a little bit more aggressive? Do you feel good at the 22-23 mark? What do you think projection-wise that we should do in our game script?
I feel good with that number. I do agree. I do think Lamar should be slightly ahead of Mahomes. I think that we cannot ignore a 30-yard difference in rushing props at all. That's a huge amount of points there. I know Patrick Mahomes, can get it done through the air and stuff, but look, I like playing both in captain. That's not a theme that you're going to see throughout the season either, right? I'm not a huge fan of quarterback captain unless it's a stud like these two. So, I think 22 and 23, good number. Lamar ahead of Mahomes there. I'm just fine with.
All right, let's go on to running backs. Obviously, we know Snyder's Ravens absolutely love to just pound the rock. We got Derrick Henry, Justice Hill. Kansas City side. Kansas City is going to be interesting because Mahomes didn't Rashee Rice, obviously rookie year, had a phenomenal rookie year and really emerged as that wide receiver number one. Now Kansas City has a lot more, outside of him, it was Justin Watson was the second best receiver for Kansas City. Now, obviously we have, my Chiefs have a lot more talent. We can stretch the field. Xavier Worthy, a speedster. Hollywood Brown, obviously out this game, but when he comes back, this Kansas City offense is going to be far more dynamic, in my opinion, and not as reliant maybe on Pacheco. Now, I could be wrong, but again, talk to me about the running back position and hit on the projections because obviously we have a pretty tasty projection on Isaiah Pacheco in this one.
Yeah, I mean, what we saw down the stretch from Pacheco was really good, right? He was one of the best running backs to have. And I don't want to, hate on it or anything like that. Yes, he was great. However, I am a little bit worried about P. Ryan coming in and mucking things up. And what it sounds like is Andy Reid's going to instantly trust him. He doesn't want to overwork him too early in the season and stuff. But that is kind of giving me cold feet. I think if you would have asked me a week ago, whether I like Pacheco, I would have said I liked him more than I do right now. So I think I'm going to bump Pacheco down a couple points, and I'm actually going to get P. Ryan up to 4.5 or 5 because I do think that, 4 catches is firmly in play for a guy like P. I would say realistically 2 to 3, especially, just pass blocking for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's his biggest specialty, right? You can trust him to defend Patrick Mahomes, against the pass rush there. He's a great pass blocker. And with, Pacheco specifically, we know he's going to get the goal line touches, and that's all that matters, right? Especially in Showdown when you're optimal hunting. It's okay to kind of keep him at 14 or 15. The fact is, though, for my main team, playing both quarterbacks, what does that mean? Probably won't be high in the running game. And I'm probably going to be a little bit lower on Pacheco. So we got him a couple points down there, too. So Derrick Henry, on the other hand, he's got a rushing prop. What is it, around 60-ish? I think he's expected to get 18 to 20 touches is what the sports books are kind of projecting right now. I don't hate it. I do think that there is an underestimation on what Justice Hill will do in the pass game, and I do think he's going to take a lot of touches. I think they want to keep Derrick Henry fresh for the entire season. I don't think they're just going to go ahead and feed him 20, 25 times whenever possible. I think Justice Hill is going to be a guy who gets about 6 to 9 touches, and that's going to be worthwhile, especially in the passing game. And I do think he has upside getting 10 touches. He was very effective last year with the ball. So it's not like he's, a guy who just comes in, does absolutely nothing, and, gets disrespected or whatever by Harbaugh. He gets touches. And he is someone I'm looking at also in the props wise, maybe hitting his receiving prop. I think it was 11.5. His rushing prop was only 7.5. So the sports books aren't on him, but I do think that touches are going to be, plenty for Hill. And by plenty, if I had to set a realistic expectation, I would say 8 touches total for Justice Hill tonight. Again, I think he's underprojected. I kind of want to play the backup running backs a little bit more than the Henrys and Pachecos. As far as Carson Steele, I don't need to play a 200 guy tonight. I just don't.
Yeah.
And with
and Rubio, I think that's a really good point because a lot of that has to do with pricing and how soft it is, right? I mean, a lot would have to happen, get in the end zone, maybe even a little bit more than that. I don't think usually a 200 price player, if they get in the end zone, they're optimal. Maybe not the case tonight.
Yeah, and I love playing a 200 more than anyone. I think I had the Jamal Agnew slate, the one that he housed the long touchdown was late in the season there, and I was hyped. This is not the slate for it. Look, I got P. Ryan at 3K. I got Likely at 2.6. We even got Noah Gray who gets, plenty of looks. You would almost need Carson Steele to get in the end zone, like you said, right? Or fluke a fullback dive at the 1 yard line. That's not realistic for me to, continue to try and chase after, especially in the main team. So I like the backup running backs, sans Steele, but I don't mind Henry or Pacheco in large field tournaments at the same time and single entries in my main team. They're not going to be in there.
I feel like thinking back to last year early on, especially in the Lions game, I think we saw, a 3-man rotation for Chiefs running backs like Andy Reid does. Someone in the chat said it does like to troll early on. I think it's more about just keeping the main guys fresh. And so with P. Ryan, I definitely agree. He's a veteran. There's so many games where when he was with the Bengals, just absolutely destroyed Kansas City. Couldn't do anything with them. Now we got them, and I feel good about that. So I do see kind of maybe not split workload, but a wider rotation there with the running backs. Really curious. Derrick Henry's done very well against Kansas City, obviously, when he was with the Titans. A lot of big games. I think our guy Stats posted it. Averages 112 yards against Kansas City. The interior, I think Kansas City's interior is still very strong, but obviously losing Willie Gay there, it might be a little tougher early on. So with the running backs, it is tougher. I like where we have them. Is there anything that you would change? I don't want to be overly aggressive on Pacheco. I don't want to be overly. I want to keep Henry and Pacheco kind of in line. Maybe Henry a little bit ahead of them. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that?
Yeah, I think you're the Chiefs fan, so you definitely got a better read in the situation. I was I might want Pacheco a little higher just because of his involvement in the passing game, but I'm very cool with that too. I mean, at the end of the day, who's more likely to put 2 touchdowns into the box? I actually think they're probably the same level, but Derrick Henry's that guy, especially in the beginning of the season where Derrick Henry's fresh. He's not beat up, worn out. It's not the Derrick Henry of old where you can just expect it week in and week out. I do think, targeting early in the season is probably a little bit better. So, yeah, I won't hate on that at all.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I know. I should know this since I compile all of the Showdown data for past optimals. But I feel like last year running backs in these spots, mainly Chiefs games with Pacheco, did pretty well. But gosh, I really think that we see offense tonight, and I want wideouts in there. I want receivers. I want to see some big plays versus kind of a grinded out defensive game. Multiple running backs in your lineups. I know that might be the more contrarian route, but still. So like how I have it is Henry over Pacheco projection wise. I want, and then bumping up both Justice Hill, Samaje Perine, just thinking that they're going to have kind of wider rotation distribution between these running backs and more involvement from Hill and Perine. Any changes there? Should we hit on the receivers?
I like it. I like those numbers right there.
We got
tight ends with wide receivers just because we're going to be talking about the pass catching a lot.
Yep, I like that.
I do think the tight ends are going to be incredibly relevant today. I do want to lump the pass catchers in just one.
So what do we do with our pass catching skill position players? Kelsey's all right. So I mean, obviously Kelsey has absolutely owned the Ravens, but I'm under on Kelsey this year. Father Time, he gets us all. Like, you can't hide from Father Time. And Kelsey's up there. It looks like this offseason he went hard. I mean, it seemed like he was constantly partying anytime you saw him. I don't know, man. I don't feel good about, in this entire group right here, Kelsey having the highest projection. But Rubio in this group right now, talk me through this. What are you seeing here? Am I wrong about Kelsey? Should we be high on Travis Kelsey against the Ravens, who have been bad against tight ends throughout the years? It seems like 3, 4, 5 years now. It's like they're constantly a flowchart play. Or are they going to have it out for Kelsey tonight? So what are we doing with the wide receivers and tight ends?
I always say this too. If Kelsey had 3 catches for 30 yards in the fourth quarter, who's likely to make a scene and want the ball more? Travis Kelsey. Obviously, I think in weeks 15, 16, and 17, he had really bad weeks there for the Chiefs. Heading into the playoffs, they were sputtering. Then he turned it on. He flipped the switch. I also think it's important to recognize that Travis Kelsey last year played through an injury. And that was the knee injury that kind of held him out of that first game. He was not 100%. I don't think he was 100% to start the year. He kind of got going a little bit and then kind of faltered. I think he comes into this season 100%. And that's what matters. Okay. He's still the best tight end in football. It's not even close in my eyes. I think Laporta and them can get there. But I'm not going to be under on Kelsey in the first game of the year, fully healthy. He wants his numbers all the time. Again, it's a soft price at 9,600. It's not as soft as the quarterbacks, but I look at Kelsey. I see someone who's entered the season fully healthy like this. Props are strong. I like him a little bit more than Rashee Rice. And I do think that both of them are going to be very good plays. I think a lot of people are going to play both Kelsey and Rice. But it is worthwhile, like you said, if I was wrong, it's Father Time, right? Father Time catching up to him. I think he's got another great year left in him, especially at the start with his health. I was actually shocked to hear you say that. I was kind of caught off guard. I was expecting you to fully be on Kelsey and stuff, but I like your reasoning, but I am going to buy all the Kelsey stock. The ownership too feels a little light on him. He is lower owned than Rice. Same ownership as a guy like Mark Andrews. I know the pricing is much different, but I was expecting him to come in way higher than a guy like Zay Flowers, who's only 1,600 less than him. So the ownership there is a little bit off to me. Not off, but like interesting, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, very good points all around. It's more so, I mean, you make good points too. It's just, yeah, I mean, I think we leave. So like projection wise, Kelsey, where do you have him? Over under where we're currently at right now. I'm like so indifferent. Like I get your reasoning. At the same time, I look at these other weapons. I look at the emergence of Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy. And then it's just how Kansas City still, spread it around type of offense. And like, I don't think that's going to change, which makes them frustrating, especially when Hollywood Brown comes back. Like we talk about, this offense should be a lot better, a lot high powered, more points, etc. I just think that boosts Mahomes for me. Like, it makes Mahomes a much better play on main slates specifically. Like, we couldn't even play him last year. Like, I don't know if he was optimal at all in any one week all last season on main slate specifically. But now I see that as, a much greater chance of that happening with these skill position players that Kansas City has. But projection wise, do we go over? Do we go under? I'm indifferent. So, like, I'm leaning on you here. It sounded like you liked him. What's a fair projection that we should adjust him to?
So I actually had him ahead of Pacheco, and we had Pacheco pretty high. I got Kelsey in the mid 15s, so 15.5. I got Rashee Rice just a tick below that as well, like 15.1. And I also, this is where, looking at the stats last year, and I know that the Chiefs got a little bit weaker on defense. No Snead, no Gay. Zay Flowers takes a small hit for me. I do think the 13 projection is fine. I think we can get him down to 12.7 just for the sake of the show here. But really, like, what you want against this Chiefs team is guys who line up in the slaughter at the tight end, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, also with no Snead, who's likely to benefit. All right, real quick, I did want to get into this. There's been two things I have taken from the Ravens camp. So one of my favorite accounts to follow has been that Coach Speak Index thing. I think that person does a great job summarizing all the stuff. Two things that I've noticed. One, Rashad Bateman is the guy. He is going to have a great year. How many times have we heard that? A ton. However, Harbaugh is incredibly bullish on a guy like Rashad Bateman. I'm going to take his word for it. And he's also incredibly bullish on a guy like Isaiah Likely. There has not been a time where I haven't seen Isaiah Likely mentioned in the same breath as Mark Andrews. And Mark Andrews didn't practice for a long time there. Like, obviously what was the car accident and stuff. He's just fine and stuff. But I think Likely is one of the biggest misprices on the entire slate. I am buying Likely a ton. I know I love having a guy like Easy Money on our Discord, even though we have our differences because he's a Ravens fan and I'm a Bengals fan. We can agree on one thing. Isaiah Likely's profit was at 15.5 receiving yards. That is a joke. Kenny Pickett had a great preseason. I don't know if it was a great camp, to be fair. The preseason, he was absolutely rocking in that week one and stuff.
Digital Buddha. I love that right there.
It was very good, though. I can tell you someone who played Kenny Pickett this preseason, he'd suck this year, too. But yeah,
I'm such a boomer. Like, I don't listen to any of that stuff. But that's why I rely on you. I like to know it. I don't
this is
actively
why I
go
like
out
making these like lotteries like on DraftKings Sportsbook and stuff like that, where like I'll just make a lottery of over receiving yards on a bunch of guys who had a lot of camp buzz. And two guys who fit the bill already were Likely and Bateman. I'm not going to do Bateman just because of how good the Chiefs were against outside wide receivers last year. I don't really want to risk it. I know no Snead. It definitely helps. Easy Money. Our guy in the Discord, he was pounding up the Bateman drum too. But yeah, I mean, those are two guys I really want to be over on compared to the field. I'm actually going to be under on Mark Andrews this year. He is not the top dog in that offense, anymore. You have Zay Flowers there. You have Isaiah Likely taking a step. I was shocked to see the 6.4K price tag though, because I had a mindset of like, I really want to fade Mark Andrews today. I really don't want to come into, playing Mark Andrews. And then they priced him so soft at 6,400. That was frustrating to me because I wanted to take a big stand.
So I love your comments there. And like, just to add, when you go back to, you think about, at least when I think about the AFC Championship, I thought the Ravens weren't aggressive enough in that game. Now, again, it's been a little, I watched it once or twice. Of course I did, since Kansas City won. I'm trying to remember. It just seems like they weren't aggressive. Like, they didn't take any risks. And I could, start of the season, first game, like I could see them coming out and just, kind of firing away. We saw that Lions Chiefs. Who was it that, and it was annoying to me, but Josh Reynolds got loose on a couple
big pass that led to Montgomery touchdown. I'll always remember that because I had both guys on that team.
And now no L'Jarius Sneed. Like, I know their secondary is going to be fine because their coach is a stud, but if I'm the Ravens, I'm taking some deep shots early. I love what you had to say on Bateman. Like, I want one kind of crazy, bold.
And look at the ownership on him. That is low.
Yeah. So what is 9.5 to it? Like, I love Zay Flowers. I want to bump him up a little bit too, because I want our quarterbacks, and I want to see passing. I want to see points I want to see production through the air. I don't want a boring game tonight.
So
I
the one
think
guy I am selling on completely is Zay Flowers, because he's the one guy who gets squeezed a little bit here. So
you're selling on Zay Flowers
because look at that. He's probably going to get the terrible outside man. I'm losing the name of the corner on the opposite side of Snead last.
I actually like that. I like that.
Yeah, he's
so let's sell on him a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's appeal to Bateman even more. I mean, is that too aggressive? Like that?
No. That's exactly the point that Easy Money was making. I do want Worthy over Bateman. I do want Worthy.
I was gonna say Bateman over Worthy, because I think that would be.
I'll
unique.
take your word for it. I mean, the biggest thing is that with no Hollywood Brown, I'm like, is this the time to get in on Xavier Worthy? The Ravens were excellent against receivers out wide. What do you expect to see from Worthy? Do you expect to see him in the slot? Because you ran the slot, about 40% of the time?
I think he's going to be overowned because of all those factors. Yeah. He's all the hype around him. Obviously, he's a stud. I think no Hollywood Brown. I just think those type of things naturally are going to bump up a player ownership-wise, because everyone's going to be, looking to get him into their lineups. And, you're going to be sweating kind of a deep ball. But from what we've seen, I don't know, the Ravens should be prepared for that, unless they're being complacent on defense. So I don't want to bump down Worthy. It's not what I'm saying. I think having Bateman maybe slightly over him could be fairly contrarian and unique, especially for like Millie Maker type of contests. So you good with that, Stan? Maybe 9-8 might be a little too aggressive.
I think it's fine and stuff. We had, Snyder, obviously a big Ravens guy here, talking about, Bateman and likely fade Andrews. That's the leverage play. You talk about leverage play and showdowns all the time.
Oh, Snyder said that?
Yeah. Snyder came in and said that right here. Look at that. It's Bateman and likely fade Andrews.
Yeah.
So you look at like prime opportunities to kind of leverage high ownership, right? Mark Andrews is going to come in probably around 40% if you include the captain ownership. Rashad Bateman's probably going to come in at 15%. That is a great leverage play there. Really, I mean, I think both are good plays. Don't get me wrong. Andrews is going to take advantage of the slot. I think they're going to put him in the slot quite a bit. I think that benefits them. You're going to see a ton of 12 personnel from the Ravens too. Like, you're going to see likely and Andrews on the field almost all the time. Which I mean, I think a case for supporting a guy like Derrick Henry and stuff, who we haven't mentioned a ton of, but I just think it's worth knowing, those type of leverage plays, those type of leverage situations, especially if you're not running 150 teams, right? If you're running one team, play Bateman over Andrews if you're trying to take the top prize. That can get you a different. It saves you $1,200 as well. Hell, you can even leave the salary, and it will lead to a lot less dupes too.
Here's what I like. So the key pass catchers, for Kansas City, we have them all projected higher than all of the Ravens. But again, when you think back to the Ravens games, they were kind of like the Chiefs in a way, to where Lamar would spread it around, or he would get it done, on the ground with his legs. Here's what I like. Let's put Lamar 2 points ahead of Mahomes. So you could have a Lamar. It'll be interesting to see what kind of builds come out of this. But I could see playing like a Lamar captain with two Kansas City skill position players, type of build. I mean, you could get some unique stuff like that. Let me take away the quarterbacks real quick. Let's polish up this section and then get to kickers and defenses, and then we'll run the build and final thoughts. Get out of here. What about the scrubs? Do we even need to? What should we do with some of these guys? Like Juju Smith, I almost want to just bump him down.
That's the thing. It's like Juju's going to play, apparently, is what. Do what? Andy Reid came out and said. I don't know. He's probably not going to do much, but that was surprising to me.
2.5. I mean, I can't have him above Justin Watson.
I mentioned not wanting a ton of outside wide receivers and stuff, but if you look at Justin Watson, who's probably going to be on the field a ton tonight, especially blocking a little bit. It's not going to be every time he's out there, just going on routes and stuff. But you talk about a deep route, that he's capable of catching deep. Yeah, Justin Watson's the guy to have at 3,200. There's another great leverage play off those chalky options down low. Or I think P. Ryan probably gets 4 times the amount of ownership. I think P. Ryan actually comes in a little bit chalky today. And then Noah Gray, backup tight end situation. It's fine. Juju's fine. Nelson Aguilar is actually someone who ran the slot a ton last year for the Ravens. I know situations change when you don't have a guy like Mark Andrews and stuff. But it is interesting that Nelson Aguilar did populate a ton in what the Ravens did last year. I don't really love him. I don't love him in a show, like just a single entry team or anything like that, but it is worth mentioning at the very minimum.
Gotcha. Let's all right. So this kind of aligns with my thinking. It's two teams where you see very diversified, spread it out as far as pass catching goes. Typically what we've seen from the Chiefs and Ravens. Let's get to defenses and kickers. We'll lump them together. So how would you sum up our script so far? I think we see more points. That doesn't necessarily mean that we downgrade defenses. Obviously, defenses can contribute to more points. And we obviously have two of the best kickers, the best kickers in the NFL. And it's game one. We likely see field goals with the offenses maybe not clicking as much as we would like or hope to see tonight. So what are we doing with kickers who have been friendly to us in the past, especially in showdown formats, and these two defenses?
We mentioned how soft the pricing has been. And then you look at the kickers and they stayed the exact same price. I mean, right? it was kind of shocking. So when I see kickers like this, I'm like, man, they got to hit 9 or 10. I think that's the minimum. It's not like they're going to get optimal with 7 or 8. I think they got to get above Bateman and Worthy. I think they got to get above that set of guys because if they don't, I think a mid-tier captain can for sure beat them. I don't love kickers tonight. I do think the 8 projection is as fair as we can get it. We don't really want to ever adjust kickers too much at all because at that point you're just banking on a little bit of luck, I would say, outside factors. This is where, honestly, AP, I think my biggest weakness last year in Showdown was the defenses. I think I refused to play the defenses as much as I should. I'm going to come back right away with I don't really want the defenses tonight. I just don't love them. And I look at it. Do I really want to go against the Patrick Mahomes all that much at 4K when I do think there's a bunch of values below him? If you're talking about specifically for leverage situations, this is where I love the Sims. Let's keep them at 6 here. 5.84, 5.44 is fine, AP. Let's see what the Sims say. Let's see what those contest Sims say. I love relying on that a little bit more than just saying, yeah, I really want the defenses tonight or not. I just don't have a take. I'm always wrong on the defenses, it feels, and I'll just let the Sims decide that one.
Yeah, really good points. I think if you think a lot of this has to do with what you think the game script is going to be. If we see a sloppy game tonight, not a lot of points, obviously defenses are going to be a factor, and especially the Ravens, even though they're on the road. I mean, they led the NFL in sacks last season. That first game, we've seen the Chiefs be turnover prone in the past, especially early on in the season. So, if you're in that camp, I would bump up the Ravens defense over the Chiefs. Chiefs lost key pieces on defense. Yeah. The Ravens are a run-heavy team, usually try to protect the ball. I know Kansas City's at home. Their defense usually plays good at home, but usually that's as the season progresses. So here's what I want. I agree with you. I don't want to do too much to the defenses, especially early on. We'll see what the contest Sims have to do. But I do want the Ravens higher than the Chiefs. So I want to bump the Chiefs down a little bit, bump the Ravens up a little bit, but not get too crazy. Is that fair?
That's very fair. I like your take on that too.
Let's all right, let's go up. Let's add our I don't have any contests loaded. Well, you got to do the Millie, right? That's what we did last year.
Throw in a single entry too, because I want people to see this. I used it for college football the other day, and it worked out just fine and stuff. But throw on my screen a 20 entry max and a 3 entry max. We can just show people the difference between what it does. So Saber put in a lot of updates over the summer, especially for different sports and stuff too, not just NFL, but really, they were just banging the drum about how great, that these updates were and stuff, and how easy it is to upload multiple teams. They have a YouTube video on that. I think it just dropped a couple of days ago too. So if you are interested in stuff like this, the ultimate package that we haven't run for your sports, you can get in on that. But Saber does a lot of great things. These content sims specifically are my favorites. You're able to kind of sort, what is a good lineup to play in, situations like this. And I think single entry wise, I think it does get a little bit chalky. It was kind of funny over the last Showdown slate AP. I just saw a bunch of SaberSim logos above me on the college football thing. I min cash, but I saw a giant train at the top RAROI lineup. So a lot of people are using this and they're finding success. I mean, that lineup got 4th, I got 30th. So I still had a little bit of work to do. But yeah, I really love what this does, not just for 150 max. I like what it does for 20 entry max. I love what it does for single entry.
You know what I miss? I missed having the bar, because then I know I was like sitting there looking at it. It just says loading lineups now. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, hopefully this doesn't take too long. So we just ran, I think I did 3,500 builds. I didn't want to do the full 5,000. Now we're running the contest sims. Yeah, I'm with you though. So wait, what were you saying? You're sorting by ROI instead of risk adjusted?
Oh, no, ROI. Yeah.
Okay,
when it finishes up here. Yeah, so RXC, I do expect the Ravens to kind of be one of those teams where they see a small dip. It's not going to be a huge dip for them defensively. I think I had it just a couple points. They were like extremely good last year, and I don't really want to ignore that. I think they're still going to be good. This is why we expect a little bit of scoring tonight too, though, right? Both these teams lost key pieces on defense, but the Ravens do have a history of just saying next man up and always making that happen. Like as much as I hate the Steelers, as much as I hate the Ravens, there's two things you got to respect. They always show up, especially defensively. It is as frustrating as can be. I never want to discount the Ravens defensively. Little Trot, do we think Lamar's a lower ceiling, this year? No, because Gus Edwards was incredible last year at the goal line and ate up carries that if Derrick Henry had a season like Gus Edwards did last year, I think a lot of people would be extremely happy with Derrick Henry. So I think it would be very hard for Lamar to not have as high of a floor and ceiling that he did last year, because he was vultured a ton last year, and it shouldn't be understated.
All right, so we have everything ran. We're sorted.
It's a kicker build.
We're looking at the Millie right now. We're sorted by risk adjusted, return on investment. Which, what does that mean? It basically, we're trying to diversify our lineups a little bit more. My brain always goes back to finance terms. It's on a risk adjusted basis, it's okay. I always think of it, how did I return in compared to the S&P 500, but how much less risk did I take, as far as beta goes. So DFS terms, I like to describe it as being more diversified, especially in Showdown. So I like how this looks though, Rubio. We get, what did we want? We wanted Lamar Jackson. We wanted Patrick Mahomes. We're getting over 55% Lamar Jackson's captain, followed by 18% Mahomes, Derrick Henry, Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce. If we wanted to diversify further, we could add in men uniques. That's just going to expand our pool a little bit more. Let's keep it at 1 unless you tell me otherwise. What's your thoughts on the captains for sorted by the Millie Maker risk adjusted?
This could definitely be a slate. This is where I love having like JVC in there too, where it's like, do you just see him lock or like quarterback captains? He never does quarterback captains, but I could just see him saying, I'm playing Lamar and Patrick Mahomes, or I'm playing like just 3 guys at the top. I do think you can be really thin with your captain exposure up top. I'm fine with Henry, especially with this 2 touchdown upside. I'm fine with guys like Rice and stuff, but I want the quarterbacks tonight. I like how this looks, like you just said. Also, a big thing I kind of want to mention real quick, just talking about the uniques. Apparently, you don't even need to run 1 and 2 uniques. I noticed that we didn't even change that much when you went to 2 uniques in the captain slot. Apparently, that risk-adjusted ROI is supposed to kind of bake that in already. So I was very interested to see that change too. I was going to do it after the show, but I'm glad you kind of got to fiddle around with it. But yeah, for me, I really like those exposures. I think I would almost just want a tad more Patrick Mahomes captain, and that's it. And I would just bump him up 1 point and rerun contest sims at that point. We don't have to do that in this one, but that's my process there, is that he's probably in the pool a ton anyway. If I bump him up just a tad, does it get me to that 25% and maybe Lamar at 50%, right? Then I just think Kelce would be my 3rd guy. I don't mind any of these guys though. Look, I think a mid-tier captain can win it, but I do want the quarterbacks at captain specifically for me tonight. When we look at these flexes too, look at our guy Bateman. That is not very risk adjusted, but I do love
we had a pretty aggressive
we did just
projection on
nuke his projection up. I really like Bateman, and I do think the 30.5 receiving prop is a good bet on the over. Likely is my favorite at 15.5. But those are two guys I'm going to be very bullish on. We did bump Mark Andrews down a slight bit to 10.1. There's a guy where maybe you can kind of get even with the field on. That's probably what would be my preference. But yeah, like these are exposures that I really like how they lined up, to be honest, AP. Personally, I think we'd have like a little less Bateman and a little bit more Mark Andrews to kind of balance out that leverage. But otherwise, I mean, these numbers seem very in line with what I want. I think maybe just a tad more Kelsey from my end too, but I really like how these look, and I do like the lineups on the right side. If you can even just scroll like up to the top lineup for me real quick, the number one, and if you go into that box and scroll down just slightly, you can see the differences between the milli and the 20 entry max, like you just did there. It's in that same box there too. So if you scroll down right there at the bottom, right there. See how it shows? Yeah, right there, like 20 entry max. And stuff like that.
Yep.
See that ROI drop there from the 3 entry max to the 20, or the 20 entry max to the 150 max. This is stuff I really like to fiddle with. And then if you scroll all the way down to the single entry one, you can kind of see, it's actually a really good lineup for single entry. So kind of a Swiss Army knife of lineups. It's really good across the board. The only thing I don't love about it is Justin Tucker, but if Justin Tucker comes out and kicks 250 yarders, it's a moot point.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add was I was kind of surprised to see a 200 player in the second lineup right here. Maybe, since we are so high on Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, maybe we do need to take a closer look at those 200 priced players on the slate. If you're jamming Lamar and Patrick Mahomes in, and you're trying to get the Henry, Rice, kind of Bateman. I guess this is a Kelsey fade build too, which, kind of tricky there.
Here's a question for you real quick. Lamar Jackson captain with Derrick Henry seems a little bit counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I might make a rule against that. Because I would almost want Henry to get into the box, and what that does is that we definitely cut into what we were talking about earlier with little Trop. It would hurt Lamar's ceiling a little bit. I think at that case I'd almost want like Mahomes captain, and potentially when the other team scores a lot of points, Mahomes tends to be chasing a lot. I would love that like situation there.
I would want, so here's what I just as far as like game scripts go, I think it makes more sense to have it like this, or there should be enough salary, or maybe not.
There definitely should be. Oh, that's captain. You're under captain. You got to hit the flex on the top.
Oh, yeah. I'm a donkey. It's been a minute. So, like, I think this, just as far as like game scripts go, would make a little bit more sense, because it's like, oh, hey, maybe the Chiefs, maybe the Ravens get up early via, Henry, a couple touchdowns early on in the game. Chiefs are fighting back, in this one, and then it's, maybe there's other options in there instead of our 200 price guy. There you go. Our boy, Juju Smith. Yeah, don't play Kadarius Toney. He is not with the team. So yeah, and this is just another, like, if I was hand building, I like playing around with. Yeah. I still like running my teams in there, and then playing around with editing it in this screen as well. Let's let's look at what it shows for single entry. Obviously, we're not playing 150 single entry lineups, but our top build for single entry, is it the same?
It's the same. I was when I saw that number on the single entry, I was like, that has to be the top team in single entry. It had to be. What is that? 3,600 risk adjusted ROI. That's an upset number there.
I don't. So back to what you said about the rules. I don't typically make a lot of rules with Showdown. I like to adjust it kind of, via the projection if need be. And just because maybe like Henry breaks one off for like a, dump off pass to where you get the double correlation there. And I mean, you just never know. So like I get it, but at the same time, I'm usually a little bit more hesitant to make some rules. But I mean, this is
second lineup if you can, real quick. I really like that second build too. Oh yeah, those are like the nutted builds where if you did want 3 pass catchers from the Ravens, which might be a little overly aggressive, but those are the type of builds I really like. I think we will like any of these builds. And again, we nuked Bateman up. So every lineup here, especially the single entry stuff, is going to have Bateman. If you're not high on Bateman, your lineups might look a lot, very different stuff. And if Bateman only got like 8 or 9, you probably wouldn't be optimal. But yeah, this is the just type of stuff that you can fiddle with your own projections or own takes and stuff like that too. Not
getting a ton of defenses, but I don't hate this too.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, it's a Mahomes fade type of build, which again, but we have 2 pass catchers there too. So it's Showdown. Wild things can happen. I'm just so torn on the defenses. I don't know why. I just think we see more offense tonight, but I don't want to fully fade the defenses. I think your take is correct where you leave them in there. It depends on how you're playing. If you're maxing it, obviously you don't want to full fade the defenses, but I do think tonight I'm going to be under on both defenses. And over on both on all the skill players, basically over defenses and kickers. It's probably like a 1 max kicker per build type of night for me.
Yeah, 100%. I just hope that this new kickoff rule doesn't mean a house call to start off the season, and I'm just sitting there just distraught. But the new kickoff rule, I know we had Mangone in here. He did mention there should be a lot more scoring in the first preseason slate or whatever. There's actually going to be a little increase in scoring. I think it actually might be larger than we can expect. I do think that some of the field position stuff, I think, will shift very largely in favor of the offense. However, I am interested to see what the team's trying to do to combat that, whether it's these low squib kicks that kind of make things tricky to pick up. It'll be very interesting in that regard. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the season. I do think we can expect an increase in scoring, even if it's marginal in the NFL too. So, that always helps.
I don't hate some of these a Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, or Bateman or Worthy captain builds too. It just allows you to jam in more of the studs. But I do think I'm going to have a lot of Lamar and more Lamar than Mahomes captains for me tonight. Just due to the soft pricing, but I would not be surprised if we saw. I mean, maybe it's Travis Kelce again. Who knows? But I love the Bateman call. If he that has to be somewhat unique. If it ended up being if Bateman just broke one off and somehow got over the 100-yard mark, got into the box, I mean that would be pretty sweet. Which makes me want a little bit of him at captain, just for my guy Rubio Dimes. Let's wrap this up though, Rubio. Final thoughts for tonight's game, and who's going to be your most important player tonight?
My most important player tonight will be Isaiah Likely. I'm really high on Isaiah Likely. I do have his props hammered a little bit too. So he is someone that I have bet the over on. I do think his playing time is going to be ample. We had a question earlier too, and not even a question, but talking about 12 personnel, how it's not run a ton. The Ravens did run it the 4th most last year, and that was without Andrews for a large portion of the season. I do think the Ravens might come in with the highest use of 12 personnel this season. So he is someone where I am just going to be incredibly high on. I want to be high on Bateman too. Kelce is someone I'm buying on. Basically, my sells are Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews just slightly. The pricing is what threw me off. I wish he was $8K because that way I wouldn't really have any worry, fading him. But at 6.4, you can get there in a variety of ways. He's still Lamar's guy in the red zone too. What was it, 9 touchdowns in limited games last year? So I definitely don't want to ignore that. But yeah, I mean, I'm under on the running backs, high on the quarterbacks, and high on Isaiah Likely.
Absolutely love it. I think Lamar captain is going to be my most important player. Who wins tonight, and what's your final score prediction? Then we're going to get out of here.
I hate doing this to you. I hate doing it to myself. I don't want the Ravens to win. I really don't. But I think the Ravens get this one done. I think that 23-20, was that the exact score that we had last year in the Lions-Chiefs game or something like that? I feel like it was very similar to that. I'm going to go – this is – maybe it's a missed extra point. Maybe Tucker misses an extra point rather than 3 field goals. But 23-20 is my guess here, Ravens.
I think the game goes over 27-24. Kansas City pulls it off. gets the win. And I think it's going to be a more exciting game than what we've seen in the past. Both teams lost a little bit on defense. Their offenses are stacked up, good to go. More weapons on both sides. I think we see more offense tonight. So a lot of skill position players, a lot of quarterback captains. Screw the defenses. We're not going there today. We want points, baby. So Kansas, I think it's going to be a good game, though. Kansas City 27. What did I say, 27, 23, or 24? 24?
27-24.
And the over, the over is what, 47 to 48, something like that?
Yeah, I haven't checked in the last day, but yeah, I imagine it's still the same.
All right, so what do we have coming up? We got what? The Print Factory, Big T, JSU, and then we have Wiley, JBC, Showdown Kings returning, right? Oh, baby. What time?
6:30.
6:30. Awesome. Absolutely love it. Rubio and I, we will be back tomorrow to go over the Friday night slate down in Brazil. Is that right? The game's down in Brazil?
Yeah, we got a nice little Brazil-themed show cover, too, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Ooh, baby. Appreciate all of you watching. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe. If you haven't yet, head on over to Run Pure Sports. Use the promo code RPS15, 15% off your first payment over here. You're going to love the content. Everything's going to be dialed headed into week 1. Showdown, a massive emphasis this year, something that we want to absolutely crush and are going to absolutely crush. So good luck to all of you. Appreciate you watching. And as always, Run Pure.